tucked away in the little old town of Wilder, Kentucky, Bobby Mackey's music world's been a shining light for country music lovers, ghost chasers, and folks hankering for a good scare. For more'n 45 years, it's built itself a name as a honky-tonk legend, while also wearing the spooky crown of America's Most Haunted Nightclub. Now, as the iconic building steps into a brand new chapter, its storied past and bone-chilling tales still manage to grab hold of folks' imaginations and don't let go. Welcome to Kentucky Melody, where we bring you the beauty, history, and bone-chilling mysteries of Kentucky and beyond. If you're into stories that'll make you think twice about the dark, tales that'll stir your curiosity, or just a good dose of local charm, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss a story. Go on, join the family. We promise, most of our ghosts are friendly. Well now, let me tell you the tale of Bobby Mackey's music world starts long before Bobby Mackey ever laid eyes on Wilder, Kentucky. Back in the 1850s, that there piece of land wasn't no honky-tonk or dance hall. It was something much darker. There stood a slaughterhouse, a grim old place where they butchered animals for meat. Folks say the basement had a deep, stone-lined well where they'd toss the leftovers, the guts, blood, and all that mess. But as time wore on, folks started whispering that well weren't just for scraps. It started getting a reputation, one that'd send shivers down your spine. The locals, they got it in their heads that the well was some kind of gateway, a portal to hell, they called it. There's talk that the darkness from all that blood-soaked history soaked right into the ground itself. Some claimed that evil spirits, drawn by the death and despair, took up roost in that there hole. Then, when the slaughterhouse finally shut down and the workers cleared out, things only got stranger. Folks started saying that late at night under a black sky, groups of people would sneak in, light candles, and chant something fierce. Rumors spread like wildfire that occult rituals were being done right around that well, calling up something that had no business being here in this world. Now, fast forward a bit, and that old slaughterhouse didn't just sit there and rot away. Nope, folks repurposed it, giving it a new lease on life, but not exactly a respectable one. When Prohibition rolled around, that place turned into a speakeasy, the kind of joint where folks would sneak off to drink bootleg whiskey and raise a little Cain. Of course, where there's booze and secrets, there's bound to be trouble. Illegal gambling, backroom brawls, and shady deals were the order of the day. That old well, still there, down in the basement, like a quiet witness to all the sinful goings-on above. By the time Prohibition ended, that property already had a stain on its name. The stories about the portal, the occult, and all the dirty deeds done in them walls turned it into something more than just a building. It was a place where the past seemed to linger, like it had soaked into the wood and stone. It wasn't just another nightclub in Wilder. It was a place with a darkness that refused to let go. Among all the eerie tales that cling to the old property like cobwebs in a forgotten attic, there's two that folks can't seem to shake. Two that have sunk deep into the bones of the place. Each one's got its own dark flavor, and together they have wrapped Bobby Mackey's in a shroud of legend and mystery. The first tale takes us back to 1896, a time when life was hard, and death always seemed just a step behind. Pearl Bryan, a young woman from Indiana, found herself caught up in something terrible. The story goes she was lured into tragedy by folks she trusted, only to meet her brutal end near Fort Thomas, Kentucky. Pearl's murder was a ghastly affair. She was decapitated, her body left abandoned while her head vanished without a trace. Though there ain't no hard evidence tying her death to the future site of Bobby Mackey's, that don't stop folks from talking. The basement well, the one folks call the portal to hell, is said to hold a connection to Pearl's restless spirit. Some believe she roams the halls, her ghost searching endlessly for her justice, or maybe for the head she lost so long ago. People claim to see her in fleeting glimpses, a sorrowful figure wrapped in tragedy, forever bound to a place she never even knew in life. Then there's Johanna, the star-crossed dancer whose story comes wrapped in heartbreak and betrayal. In the 1940s, long before Bobby Mackey turned the place into his honky-tonk dream, the building served as a nightclub. It was a place of music, laughter, and late-night revelry, but beneath the surface, it held secrets darker than the shadows cast by its dim lights. Johanna was a dancer there, known for her beauty and grace. She fell in love with a singer who performed on that very stage. Their love was the kind of thing folks write songs about, but it wasn't meant to be. Her father, a man full of wrath and control, discovered the affair. Not content to merely disapprove, he went to the darkest extreme, having the young man killed. That cruel act shattered Johanna. Consumed by grief and rage, she took her vengeance the only way she could, by poisoning her father. Then, unable to bear the weight of her broken heart, she ended her own life right there in the basement. Since then, Johanna's presence is said to linger like the sweet yet haunting scent of roses, her favorite flower. Guests and staff have reported catching a whiff of her perfume in the still air or hearing her soft voice singing in the dark. Some say it's a mournful tune carrying the ache of her lost love. Others claim to feel a gentle touch like she's trying to let the living know she's still there, caught between the echoes of joy and sorrow that once filled her life. Both Pearl and Johanna have become woven into the very fabric of Bobby Mackey's. Their stories, whether fueled by fact, folklore, or something in between, have kept the place alive with mystery. The building may change, the floors may be replaced, but the spirits that call it home, they ain't going nowhere. Now, back in 1978, Bobby Mackey, a man with a voice like pure country gold and a heart full of honky-tonk, laid eyes on a run-down old building in Wilder, Kentucky. Most folks would have seen nothing but trouble, a worn-out shell of a place with a history darker than a moonless night. But not Bobby. He saw something else. He saw potential, a stage where the music he loved could come alive, where folks could two-step their worries away under the glow of string lights and neon signs. With that vision in his heart, he bought the property and got to work. It didn't take long for Bobby to transform the place into Bobby Mackey's music world, a lively honky-tonk where country music filled the air. Boots scuffed the floor, and the smell of beer and fried food felt like a warm welcome. He poured every bit of his passion into that club, from the mechanical bull that bucked its way into local legend to the stage that gave countless musicians their time in the spotlight. Mackey's entrepreneurial spirit breathed new life into the old building, turning it into a hotspot for good times and unforgettable nights. But while Bobby was filling the place with laughter, music, and dancing, something else seemed to stir in the shadows. The haunted stories that clung to the building like a heavy fog didn't just disappear. They grew louder. Patrons whispered about strange sights and eerie sounds, and soon enough, the legends that had been tucked away in the basement were walking upstairs. The more folks came to dance and drink, the more they left with tales of ghostly encounters, as if the spirits were drawn energy from the very life Bobby had brought back into the place. Now, Bobby's always been a practical man, grounded in the here and now. Ask him about ghosts and he'll laugh, his voice rich with the charm of a Kentucky storyteller. "I don't believe in ghosts," he said, more times than he can count, "but they sure seem to believe in me." It's a line he delivers with a twinkle in his eye, but the truth is, the stories of hauntings have become as much a part of Bobby Mackey's music world as the music itself. For Bobby's wife, Janet, though, those ghost stories ain't no joke. She's had first-hand experiences that'd turn a skeptic into a believer. The most terrifying of all happened down in the basement, near the infamous portal to hell. Janet was just exploring, curious about the history, when something unseen and malevolent made itself known. She felt an invisible grip wrap around her neck, squeezing the breath right out of her. Panicked, she struggled, her heart pounding like a freight train until the grip suddenly let go. Shaken and scared half to death, Janet's encounter became one of the most talked about events in the club's history. Her story only fueled the paranormal lore that already surrounded the place. Folks started coming, not just for the music and dancing, but for a chance to glimpse something otherworldly. Investigators with fancy gadgets showed up, hoping to catch proof of the spirits that seemed to linger in the walls. And all the while, Bobby kept singing his songs, pouring his heart into the honky-tonk dream he'd built, letting the ghosts do as they pleased. In Bobby's mind, the music will always be the heart of his club, but for everyone else, the mix of honky-tonk cheer and haunted chills is what makes Bobby Mackey's music world a place like no other. Now, let me tell you, the hauntings at Bobby Mackey's music world ain't just one story or one spirit. No, sir. It's like the whole place is alive with things that ain't to this world, and every corner's got its own tale to tell. Folks come from all over, some hoping for a chill down their spine, others hoping to prove it all wrong, but most leave with stories that'll make the hairs on the back of your neck stand straight up. The basement, that's where the heart of it all seems to be. They call it the portal to hell, and just saying them words out loud feels heavy. Down there, the air's different, thick, like it's weighing on your chest, making it hard to breathe. People have said they hear low growls coming from the well, like something deep and angry's lurking just out of sight. Others have heard voices, disembodied, they call it, but it don't sound like just voices to me. It's more like whispers that seem to crawl right into your ears, even when the room's supposed to be still. Some folks claim they felt something they couldn't see, like a hand on their shoulder or a cold breath on their neck. And let me tell you, it ain't no friendly pat. It's the kind of thing that makes your stomach drop, like you've walked into something you weren't supposed to. But it ain't just the basement where the ghosts like to play. Johanna, the dancer from the 1940s with the tragic love story. She's said to linger upstairs. Guests will catch the smell of roses out of nowhere, and anyone who knows her story knows that was her scent. Some have heard her singing soft-like, a tune that seems to drift through the air when the place is quiet. They say it ain't mournful, but it's got a sadness to it, like a memory that can't let go. There's something about it that sticks with you, like she's still waiting for something that'll never come. And then there's the shadows. Now, I don't mean shadows like the ones cast by the lights. These are different. They move quick, just at the edge of your vision, darting across the dance floor or peeking from the basement stairs. You'll turn your head, thinking you saw something, and there ain't nothing there. At least, not nothing you can see with your own eyes. People swear up and down that they're being watched, that the shadows ain't just moving but paying attention, and that's enough to make anybody's skin crawl. The physical stuff is what gets most folks. Being scratched, pushed, or even choked by something you can't see, well, that ain't something you just walk away from without a story to tell. Staff have quit on the spot after feeling hands on them that didn't belong to anyone in the room. Guests have run out screaming, swearing they felt something wrap around their throat or shove 'em hard enough to make 'em stumble. It's like the place itself is fighting to keep its secrets or warning folks to leave it be. All these tales have brought in the big guns, too. Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters both came with their fancy gadgets and teams of investigators hoping to catch proof of what's going on, and they sure got something. EVPs, voices captured on their equipment that weren't there when they was recording. Shadowy shapes caught on camera, moving in ways that ain't natural. And even the investigators themselves felt it, describing the kind of fear that makes your heart pound and your breath come short. Some of them left convinced, others just shaken, but nobody leaves without feeling like they've brushed up against something they don't quite understand. It don't matter if you're a skeptic or a believer, spending time in Bobby Mackey's music world will make you think twice about what's real and what ain't. The place has a way of making you feel small, like there's something bigger and darker just beyond the veil, watching and waiting. It's a honky-tonk that sings with the living and whispers with the dead, and whether you come for the music or the mystery, you're bound to leave with a story all your own. Now, by the time 2024 rolled around, that old building of Bobby Mackey's music world was showing its age something fierce. The years hadn't been kind to it, what with the countless boots stomping across its floors and the weight of all those stories, both earthly and not, settling deep into its bones. It was plain to see that fixing it up wasn't going to come cheap, and after long thinking, the decision was made to tear the place down and start fresh. It wasn't no easy choice, mind you. That building held decades of memories, good ones and spooky ones alike, but sometimes even the strongest foundation just can't hold up no more. On December 10th, 2024, the demolition began. Folks gathered round to watch, some with a tear in their eye, others whispering about the spirits that might be stirred up by all the commotion. When that wrecking ball swung, it didn't just knock down walls, it felt like it was closing a chapter. For many, it marked the end of an era, a farewell to a place that had been more than just a nightclub. It was a piece of Wilder itself, a home for music, laughter, and more than a few shivers down the spine. But Bobby Mackey's spirit, now that's something you can't bulldoze. While the original site was being prepped for its next chapter, the heart of the honky-tonk packed up and headed to Florence, Kentucky. They set up shop in an old biker bar, and let me tell you, the music didn't miss a beat. It might have been a different roof over their heads, but the soul of Bobby Mackey's came with them. Live music, dancing, and the kind of energy that makes you forget about tomorrow. Fans kept flocking in, grateful for a place to tap their toes and relive a bit of the magic. Still, folks couldn't help but count the days till Bobby Mackey's could come home. There was something about that original spot, with its storied past and eerie charm, that no other place could quite match. The new building promised to be something special, but it wasn't just about bricks and mortar. It was about carrying forward the legacy of a place that had become something much bigger than itself. A honky-tonk, alive with the echoes of the past and the promise of many more songs to come. The new Bobby Mackey's music world, set to open its doors by 2026, is shaping up to be a blend of the old and the new, a place that'll carry the soul of the original while giving it a fresh face for the future. They're calling it a modern honky-tonk, but it ain't losing the heart that made the first one a legend. Bobby and his team have made sure this new chapter won't just be about shiny floors and new lights. It's about keeping the stories, the music, and even the mysteries alive. The layout's going to be wide open, letting folks see the stage clear from just about anywhere in the place. Whether you're there to watch the band or take a turn on that famous mechanical bull, you won't miss a thing. It's all about bringing the energy of the old dance floor into something fresh and exciting, where every seat in the house feels like the best one. But here's the part that's got folks talking. They're not just building something new, they're preserving the pieces of history that made the old Bobby Mackey's what it was. That infamous well in the basement, the one folks call the portal to hell, ain't going nowhere. They're fixin' to encase it in plexiglass, so visitors can still get a look without getting too close to whatever might still linger there. And the wall of faces, where water stains have made shapes that seem to stare right back at you, is coming along too, setting itself up to give the new place that same eerie charm. For the music lovers and the ghost hunters alike, they're planning to elevate the experience with all the bells and whistles a modern venue can offer. A top-notch sound system's going to make sure every note rings clear, whether it's a live band playing their hearts out or the whisper of something otherworldly in the background. And with updated facilities, the place will be more comfortable, more welcoming, and ready to handle the crowds that'll no doubt come running once the doors swing open. It's a fine balance they're striking, respecting the past while looking toward the future. Folks are eager to see how it all comes together, to step into a space that carries the spirit of Bobby Mackey's music world while offering something new to explore. One thing's for sure, whether you're there for the honky-tonk or the hauntins, the new Bobby Mackey's is setting itself up to be just as unforgettable as the original. Bobby Mackey's music world ain't just a nightclub, it's a piece of Americana, a place where the lines between music, history, and the supernatural blur into something bigger than life itself. It's carved its name into American pop culture, not just as a honky-tonk, but as a living legend that keeps folks coming back year after year, story after story. Whether you're a fan of toe-tapping country tunes, someone chasing the thrill of the unexplained, or just a history buff with a love for Kentucky's roots, this place has something to offer. As Bobby Mackey himself once said, "People bring their own ghosts with them. Whether you believe or not, this place has a way of getting under your skin." And ain't that the truth? Whether it's the music, the mystery, or the memories, Bobby Mackey's has a way of sticking with you long after you've walked out the door. It's a place where the past and present meet, where the living and the not-so-living share the same dance floor, and where the stories never truly end. As the new Bobby Mackey's takes shape on the same storied ground where its haunted predecessor once stood, one thing's as clear as a Kentucky summer night. The soul of the place ain't going nowhere. The music, the mystery, and the memories that have made Bobby Mackey's a legend will keep on breathing life into every corner of the new building. This ain't just a nightclub, it's a piece of Wilder's heart, a place where every strum of a guitar and every whisper of a ghost carries a piece of its past into the future. For some, it's the history that pulls them in, the tales of speakeasies, Johanna's tragic love, and the eerie legends tied to the infamous well in the basement. For others, it's the hauntings, the shadow figures, the ghostly songs, the sense that you're never quite alone when you're standing inside those walls. And then there's the honky-tonk lovers, folks who come to stomp their boots, ride the bull, and lose themselves in the music that's kept this place alive for decades. And so, that wraps up the bone-chilling tale of Bobby Mackey's music world, a place where Kentucky's honky-tonk heart beats in rhythm with its haunted soul. Now, here's the big question. Do y'all think the ghosts will stick around when the new place opens? Or will they pack up their spooky bags and move right along with it? And more importantly, are you planning on visiting the new location when it's ready? Maybe to see if the haunting continues. Would you dare brave the basement and peek into that infamous portal to hell? Or are you more of a stick to the dance floor and pretend the ghosts ain't there kind of person? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. But careful what you say. Some spirits might be paying attention. If you enjoyed this spooky slice of Kentucky history, be sure to like this video, subscribe to Kentucky Melody, and hit that bell so you won't miss what's coming next. Trust me, you won't want to be left wondering what creeps in the shadows of our next story. Until then, sleep tight. But maybe don't look under the bed tonight. Who knows what might have followed you home?